All right, so since we've finalized our voltage control filter modulation setup, we've pretty much covered everything, or at least all of the main and key aspects of this Juno 106 design, except the chorus. Now, I was looking for a module in rack that kind of does the job, but there doesn't seem to be one single module that does it. But what we do have is this plugin by Tal Software called the Tal Chorus LX. It's free and it sounds really close to a Juno. You can see by the coloration, you can see it's kind of based on a Juno 6 or 60 chorus, but it's very similar to the 106, which came directly after that. So we're going to use that. Download the installer for your OS, install it. Follow the prompts, type in your password. Cool. So that should be installed. Now, to hear it though, we're going to have to run it, run the audio out of rack back into some kind of host DAW, like Live. So if you had Live open, close it and reopen it. And as before, we were routing the MIDI out of Live to trigger our Juno 106 in rack. Now we're going to run the audio back to it. I'm going to use Loopback for that. So just to set everything up and get it testing, I'm going to play a single note, have it go out of Live via the ISC driver, and make sure that is hitting rack, which it is. We can see there, those notes coming through. And now I have Loopback set up with two devices. The first one I've called Loop Rack, which has a pass through going to output channels 1 and 2. So to connect to that, I set the output of my Audio 8 module to that first Loop Rack output. It's useful to set up the loop devices, the loopback devices, before you open your software so that they connect properly. So that's going through there, and then on the Ableton side, in my IOs, I've got the audio input as that same loop rack, so it's going out of rack and then back into Live. So let's see if we can monitor it. We can see here the signal's coming through nicely. And then the output of Live goes to a second device, which I've called Loop Ableton. It's also got my microphone in there just so I can record this audio. So yours won't have the microphone and it won't have this second set of output channels, but other than that, it'll be pretty similar. And that will be connected to your speakers or headphones. And so now here I can turn this down, set it to input monitoring. And now I have the output of rack being triggered by MIDI from Ableton. That MIDI is going to my rack patch, which is controlling my my synth, and the audio from that is going out back to Ableton. And in Ableton, so I'll get rid of this spare MIDI track and that spare audio track. I'll call this VCV rack. In Ableton, I can finally put on our crowning module, or our piece de resistance, this chorus plugin. So go to plugins, because we previously installed it, down to Tal Chorus, and insert that plugin onto the rack audio track. Run my MIDI, and there it is. So the chorus has two types. You can have chorus 1, no chorus, of course, chorus 2, or both choruses together. Great, bit of reverb. And now we're really truly in our Juno world. Again, if we turn that into a chord by using the MIDI effect, chord module on this MIDI chord, get a preset. That's a nice one. Film noir. again, just watch the output levels when you're running multiple things together. This one's pretty low. I could lower that more maybe. And also check the level coming out of the chorus. You can see here it's not really overloading the main output of our channel. So we could just turn that down a bit. That turned it up. So there we go. So just manage your levels when we're patching between all these different bits of software. But yes, we finally have a form of polyphonic Juno 106 goodness. Yeah, sounds pretty close. High pass filter. Turn down the amplitude or the envelope modulation on the low pass filter. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. Sounds pretty 106-y to me. The one final thing is getting this noise onto all the channels. If you remember from previous videos, it was only on one of the 6 voices. We'll hear it. We're currently playing a chord, but what you want to do is kind of emulate the setup here when we turn this LFO signal into a polyphonic signal. We need to do the same for this noise module. So we can duplicate the merge module, put it here, and we're going to connect the white noise into the first 6 inputs of this merge module. And then we'll take that output into here. So now we'll always have a bit of noise. We can turn on our turn all these off because we're not using them. Again, this mutes modules maybe a little bit of overkill. We could simply just, instead of routing the saw and square to the mutes module, we could just go straight into the mixer. And yes, there wasn't faders on the original. It was just on or off, but you could easily replicate that by just deciding to have either these on or off. So that kind of simplifies that a little bit, which is nice. Remember, this is the octave. 1 octave below seems kind of right there. This was a square wave output. Yeah, cool. Juno times. Can't wait to hear what the tracks that you guys make with this little patch. Good luck.